So in detail, our webinar today will focus on three main objectives. The first one will be getting first-hand insights. Second one will be bridging the gap between theory and practice. And third will be preparing for future leadership roles. So yeah, these are the objectives of our webinar.
Thank you, Akash, for telling the objectives for this webinar. So let me introduce our first panelist, uh, Miss Sonali.
Can we move on to the next slide, please? Uh, the next one.
Akash, can I interrupt in between?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Before introducing the guest, let us just tell the guest about our institution and our VC sir,
Sure, ma'am, sure.
because probably they
I'll
won't have heard much about it because it's a new university. So just introduce about ourselves also.
okay. Uh, can we present the slide about DTU, Ankita? So I'll just tell you, Delhi Teachers University, established in 2022, is a leading institution dedicated to advanced teacher education. DTU offers innovative program for both aspiring and practicing teachers, emphasizing cutting edge research, policy development, and practical training. The university mission is to enhance teaching standards and improve educational outcomes by equipping educators with skills and knowledge needed to excel in the dynamic educational landscape. Through its comprehensive approach, DTU fosters a culture of continuous learning and professional development, aiming to create a new generation of skilled and knowledgeable educators who can drive positive change in education sector. So this is all about DTU, and Himanshi will tell you about our VC, Vice Chancellor, sir. Can we move on to the next slide, Ankita? And can you put it on the slideshow?
Thank you, Akash, for giving this opportunity for telling about our VC sir. So, full name of VC sir is Professor Dhananjay Joshi. Dhananjay Joshi is the founding Vice Chancellor of VGU. He was one of the founding faculty and dean at the University of School of Education. School of Education, uh, GGSIP University, Delhi. Professor Joshi also headed Education Department in Maharaja Surajmal Institute, New Delhi, and before this, he was Project Fellow at Maulana Azad Center of Elementary Education and Social Science, Central Institute of Education, Delhi University. Professor Joshi is a passionate teacher, writer, poet, environmentalist, and pet lover who is contributing to school education to university education for last 25 years. Thank you for giving me this opportunity explaining about VC sir.
And we also have Sonal Chabra, ma'am. She is the head of department. Uh, Thank you for your presence, ma'am. And we also have Dr. Bhageshwari. Yes, she is also assistant professor in our university. I think she left. So yeah, we will move on to the your introduction, I think. So yeah, Sonalini Benjamin. Miss Sonalini is a educational leader with over 15 years of experience in the field. currently serving as the Chief Operating Officer at Vijay Kiran Group of Institution. She is responsible for planning and coordinating and implementing the missions of the organization across various schools. Her career is marked by her ability to wear multiple hats in educational leadership. She has been instrumental in setting up new schools, driving mission oriented initiatives, and enhancing both academic and non academic programs. She had worked as a principal at the International Center of Excellence, a recognized Cambridge school, and her extensive work at Indus International School have provided her with invaluable insights into our curriculum development, teacher training, and program coordination. She is also an accredited Cambridge examiner and a lead auditor for ISO 9001, bringing a comprehensive understanding of quality assurance in educational setting. Her academic background includes a master in literature and a bachelor in education, which complements her practical experience and allow her to approach educational challenges with a well-rounded of perspective. We welcome you all, and we are thrilled to have you for this webinar, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that introduction.
So to begin with, our Sonalini will share her leadership journey with us. So, ma'am, the floor is yours.
Okay. So I'd like to, of course, extend my apologies for a little update that has to happen on this introduction. Probably I need to update my LinkedIn. But today I stand with 27 years experience. And I started off as a teacher. I did my MA and my B.Ed after my marriage, and started with teaching English in grade 3. From grade 3, I moved on and landed up till grade 12, teaching the ISC curriculum. From there, I moved on into the international curriculum, and I was teaching IGCSE and the IB. And very, very naughty as a teacher, would complete my work very quickly and would want to really bunk school. I'm telling you that honestly, I would want to exit from school quickly and not want to stay there till 4 o'clock, Saturdays, especially when we had working. I've been caught many times for exiting school before time. And one of the reasons I would say that is probably I was very bored because I would finish my work very quickly. And I think the best way the principal thought that she could keep me back was, whenever I got caught into the principal's office, she would say, "Why did you go away?" And I would say, "Because I'm done with my work. I don't know what to do. If there's something, please tell me. If I've done something wrong, please correct. Please tell me where I can improve." And it went on like this. So finally, one day she called me and she said, "I want you to get into a leadership role." And she said, "I want you to become a coordinator." And I still never forget the day I cried so much in her office. And I said, no, please. I just enjoy the freedom of being a teacher. Leadership role is not something that I want because I know it comes with a huge chunk of responsibility. And I just want to enjoy my life. Newly married, you know how it is. You just want to enjoy yourself and don't want to get too much on your plate. And she said, "Nothing doing, you're going to start." So I started with middle level school coordinator, then moved up every 2 years at Indus Bangalore, Indus International School, Bangalore. I got a promotion every 2 years. And finally, by the end of 10 years, I was as a head of school. And I only thank her for it. There's nobody else I can thank, of course, besides God and my family that have supported me through this journey. But she gave me a lot of challenges. And then every challenge, the minute you accomplish it, you want to then move to the next. It's like when you're walking up a mountain, when you scale the first peak, you're like, okay, the next peak. You hear of this when people go on treks. They say the minute they finish the first peak, then you look back and you say, it's not so exciting. Now let me go further. Okay. So like that, my journey went on until I was a little caught with a health problem of severe back pain. And I could not travel because the school required me to travel around 45 kilometers up and down. I would leave home at 6:30, come back at 6:30. And then I got into a CBSE school close by. and came as a principal first because they started the IGCSE and then moved into becoming the chief operating officer. It's been 10 years now with them, and we've opened 3 schools in this tenure. And so I have moved, the advantage probably I have as a COO, again, with blessings to all my colleagues and all my people who have helped me, people who have been in leadership roles, who have guided me, has been that I have the advantage of administration and academics. And so I'm able to understand what teachers need. I'm able to understand what administration needs, what budgeting requires. And these are skills that I have developed over the years. And I am still learning. I am still learning every day. Because when you set up school, sometimes you realize whether it's furniture, whether it's teacher training, whether it is something else that you've done, there could be errors. So what did I do, and what can I learn better? These are things that I have learned in this journey. And I have seen various kind of leaders, including myself. It depends a lot on the personality of the person, how they are innately how they are, and how they need to adapt themselves, keeping all these nuances of leadership. Okay, so that's a little intro about my journey. And now I deal with about 300 staff and about 4,000 students and that many parents. And so it's always a learning, it's always continual improvement. And that's been my journey, and I'm not going to stop. Probably, hopefully, my dad worked till he was 83, and we've just got him to stop working. He's also worked with the school rather. So I think I'm just going to keep continuing this journey. And today, as I look at myself, I'm only nurturing other leaders while I'm nurturing myself. That's a little intro from my side. Would you like me to talk about the leadership part, or do I need to wait for that?
No, you can continue, ma'am.
I can continue. Okay. Then is it fine if I show a presentation?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, fine. Thank you for that.
Can we stop presenting, Ankita? Anamma.
Just give me a second, please. The topic that was given was about, the core principles of effective leadership. And they also gave me another session on strategies for fostering a positive and productive work environment. Another session on building strong teams and motivating individuals. And the last part was adapting leadership styles to different situations. So in this whole context, what I felt was very, very important. I'm just wondering, where's my presentation? Give me 1 minute, please, on that. Okay, I need to download this. Okay, just give me I'll just do that as I'm talking. I'll do that. I don't want to waste time. The first thing I'd just like to tell everyone is that everyone is a leader. Okay, please do not ever have this concept of you are not a leader. A student is a leader, a teacher is a leader, a vice chancellor is a leader, a head of department is a leader. Everybody is a leader. The reason I say this is because you have the capacity to influence anyone. You can influence anybody who's just next to you, like your friend or your colleague, right? You have the capacity to inspire people. You have the capacity to guide people. You have the capacity to motivate people and to enable them to get better at what they do, at their abilities, at their strengths, at their skills. So that's my first thing, which I want to just tell you, that everybody is a leader. Okay, so please keep that in mind as I explain that part to you. The second thing that I'd like to focus on is that keep in mind that anything that you do now, we are doing this particular webinar, always remember the why, the what, and the how. So we are looking at why leadership, that's given by the Golden Circle by Simon Sinek. And when we talk about why leadership, I would like to talk about why leadership and why is it such an essential skill? Because leadership requires certain traits. The first one being vision. Okay, the first one is vision. And a person needs to have that clarity in their vision. What is their direction? Where are they heading to? So in my organization, I will have to implement what is the vision of what the chairman has set for this Vijay Kiran group of institutions, right? I will have a vision for myself also. Where do I want to see myself in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? So each one of you need to draw out a vision for yourself, and also keep in mind the vision of DTU, because you are still with DTU. Okay, so keep this in mind, and this has to be very clear. It has to be something that compels you to move forward. It strives, it pushes you to go forward. The other thing is that integrity is another very, very important trait, and that requires to be honest, to be able to be very outright and frank in the right way. Okay, this is the skill that will earn you respect. Many of my school leaders say, why is it that when ma'am enters, everybody has that respect, and why not for me? And I have to keep telling them it is something that you earn. You cannot demand respect. You cannot walk into a room and say, why didn't you stand up when I came? A person, the minute they see you, they need to just, in India, we have that culture of just standing up when we see an elder or touching their feet, right? That has to come from within, because you really respect that person. Okay, so a leader has to develop this kind of integrity, and that will earn them respect. The third one is empathy, which is emotional intelligence. How does emotional intelligence come into the picture? I need to understand the needs of the person who I'm working with and accordingly act upon that. At the same time, I need to also be firm. Doesn't mean you have to be kind. Many people get confused on this empathy word. Empathy is understand your need and act accordingly. It doesn't mean you keep showing sympathy and say, oh, I'm so sorry, he cannot do this. That's not what we mean over here. Okay, so vision, integrity, empathy, resilience is another very important trait of leadership, which requires you to be able to bounce back when you face different situations. There will be different kind of situations, setbacks that you're going to face. How do you persist? How do you stay strong? How do you motivate yourself? Don't think people will be very kind in the world. You have to be very strong from within. You have to motivate yourself. You're all going to be, future teachers, future leaders. So how do you actually handle resilience? And the last one I would like to talk about is accountability. How are you accountable? See, taking responsibility is very important. It's so easy to say, the slideshow was done by, say, Ankita, and it didn't work. Now I'm just wondering why mine, but I didn't want to bother because I want to speak more than, showing you something. So when we do that, what happens as a team, we are just putting the blame on somebody else, but not taking responsibility. Responsibility is when it is all shared. As a team, we are doing this session. All of us need to take accountability for it. This is very important in leadership. Okay, so these 5 traits, the why of leadership, please keep in mind, because you inspire, because you guide, you can influence, you can motivate someone towards reaching their goals or their destination, whatever they have for themselves. And what is required is the vision, empathy, integrity, resilience, and accountability. Now, coming to the how, the journey is the most challenging thing, the how part of it. Okay. Now, how has several factors. The 3 parts that Ankita had given me, the strategies. Okay. Then she had also mentioned how do you build strong teams and motivate, and how do you adapt leadership styles. So when I get into the first how I would like to say is, there are different styles of leadership. Okay, you need to keep that in mind. I'm really wondering why this slideshow of mine is not showing. I just wish, give me a second, because I'm very keen on showing it to you. let me give it a try.
Ma'am, it's comfortable for you. You can share the slides with us. We'll present from this side.
To share it with you, can I put it here as an attachment?
As an attachment also, or Ankita, can you please take from ma'am? If you do, you have her number?
I've got some, I think there was a DTU presentation that you had sent it to me. Because I don't know why I'm not able to, I've done so many sessions, but here I'm not able to even attach it. I don't know whether it's controlled or what. Ankita, can you just, can I mail it to you, Ankita, the same DTU?
Yes,
That would be fine. That would be fine, Ankita. I'll download that.
okay, sure, ma'am, sure.
And please share on the same email.
Because I just tried to make it a little,
Okay.
I'm really sorry, I don't want to take up anyone's time here. Yes, Ankita, I've done that.
Yes, ma'am. I think Sonal ma'am.
Okay, if you've got it, then great. Because from my side, it says it's gone. Okay. In the meanwhile, we'll just continue with our session. If a slideshow comes in, very good. I thought I could just attach it in the meeting link also. Okay. So now when we say, how do we go about exhibiting our leadership? Okay. There are, I would say, about 7 very strong leadership theories. I don't want to get in too much, but I will just tell you in a very brief manner what is it. The first one is transformational leadership. Now, this kind of leadership helps you to inspire, motivate another person where they change. That's why the word transformational. Okay, so they transform. In this, what happens, you encourage motivation, you encourage creativity, you're very supportive towards them. Okay, and this leads to a lot of satisfaction in the individual whom you have the direct influence. The second one is transactional leadership. Now, this is very short term. We both are working on a project. Okay, there's Manasvi there. We both are working on a project. I'm like, okay, this is what I expect from Manasvi, and this is the reward I will give you. So it's very short term. It's just a transactional leadership, very clear directions. Manasvi, this is the project. You need to execute this, and I will give you this reward, period. That is transactional leadership. The next one, which is the most interesting one, is called servant leadership. Servant leadership is something where you put others before yourself. It's the highest form of leadership, and it requires for a lot of selflessness. You know, leadership is a game where you need to really give up and focus more on other people. You have to be very, very selfless. This is what I have learned. When I keep thinking of I, me, myself, this very dirty 3-letter word ego comes in. Okay, so in servant leadership, what happens is you put others before yourself. That means you're more empathetic. You listen to them. You understand what they need. And this requires a lot of commitment. But the end result is there'll be a lot of loyalty and growth. The fourth one is situational leadership. Situational leadership is according to the situation, you adapt your leadership style. Okay, suppose we are organizing an event. Now I can see Ankita, Sonal ma'am, and Akash are all in charge. But something is going wrong somewhere. So probably ma'am will just take control in a situational leadership. She says, okay, chalo, let's just sort it out like this. Okay, so that's situational leadership where you're very flexible, you're very responsive according to the situation. Yeah, you could just come to slide number 5 if you don't mind, 6 rather. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to just show slide number 4 if you don't mind. Slide number, yeah, 4. The one just before. Yeah, the one before. Yes, this is a very, very important slide. And that's why I wanted to show it when we're talking about what is leadership, right? Always remember, you're not a leader until you have produced another leader who can then produce another leader. Okay, so as teachers that you're going out into the world, you need to get your kids to become leaders. How do they think? How do they behave? Okay, because the next slide tells you that, if you could come to slide number 5, please, whoever is supporting me, thank you for that. It's the recurring pattern of behavior exhibited by a leader. That is leadership. Okay, it's a recurring, something that continuously happens in their behavior, whether they have a vision, whether they have integrity, whether they're resilient, whether they are empathetic, whether they're accountable. It doesn't mean that today I'm like this, tomorrow I change. No, it's a recurring pattern of behavior. So these are skills that we develop, and that's what we develop in our students, in our colleagues. And as we go on in life, these remain with us. Okay. The next slide, please. I was talking about different slides of styles of leadership. So we touch the transformational, we touch the transactional, but I think that's more of the bureaucratic kind. Here you change according to your situation. Like I said, you become flexible, you become responsive. The democratic leadership is where there's a lot of involvement of the team. You take ideas from the team, you involve them. So there's a lot of equality. The morale is boosted in a democratic leadership. In autocratic leadership, what happens is you take complete control. The decisions are made by you and nobody else comes there. Please do not think this is bad. Never ever think autocratic is bad. You see, I see a lot of posts in LinkedIn about toxic leaders and micromanagers. It's very easy for people to talk about all these things. But believe me, as a person who's handling 3 principals, about 400 staff, including the administrative team, it is not very easy. At times, you need to become autocratic. At times, you need to be democratic. At times, you need to be situational. So each leadership style changes according to the situation. And the laissez-faire one is where there's minimal direction. You believe a lot in the team. But for this, the team has to be highly skilled and motivated. Then you can get into this style of leadership. Okay. Quickly moving on to the strategies to promote. Any questions till there? Any thoughts? Any questions? Can I move on, Ankita?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Okay. Just let me know about time. Just give me a thumbs up if time is shooting out. Okay.
Okay, I think, ma'am, what we can do is we as students have some questions to ask, and we have another panelist over here. She has just joined. Yeah, she was waiting. So what we can do is we can just have her introduction, and then some students can ask their questions so that you can give some insightful information on those questions as well. We have already had a semester of leadership, and we have read a lot about leadership, and we try to also add on these principles, whatever you're telling us in our lives somewhere, being empathetic with our team and getting to know what leadership styles are. So I think we can start with the questions, and then we can move forward with the slides.
Great.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Great. So then you can stop sharing.
Yes. Okay. Akash and Himanshi, you can move forward with the Renu ma'am's introduction.
Okay.
Ma'am, you're not audible. No. We can see you, but we are not able to hear you.
Ankita, can we start with the introduction?
Yes, I think she's fixing her mic, and meanwhile, you can introduce her, and then she's here only with us. You may start.
Thank you for telling me. Okay, so start with saying introduction. Let me introduce her. Renu is an educational leader with over 20 years of experience in education sector. Renu ma'am is currently serving as the principal of Army School in Chennai, Uttarakhand. Her role included overseeing the academic and administrative function of the school, ensuring a positive and inclusive learning environment for the students. Throughout her career, Renu Ma'am has demonstrated exceptional skills in curriculum development, team building, and teach-based education. She has been an integral part of the staff education committee for prestigious schools and has provided academic for a cluster of 16 schools. Her collaboration with senior officers and IPS credits has significantly enhanced her network and reputation in the industry. Renu Ma'am is an alumni of Kolkata, which further highlights her commitment to excellence and continuous learning. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming here to this webinar. I welcome you to with this webinar, and over to you, ma'am.
You're not audible, ma'am. What you can do is you can join from your mobile phone and use its mic.
I guess meanwhile, ma'am is taking some time to. I won't like Sonalini ma'am to wait. So Ankita, please coordinate and let the first question of one of the questions be thrown to her.
Yes, sure, ma'am. So we can start with the questions. Okay.
Akash,
Yes.
are you there? Let's start with the questions to Sonali ma'am first.
Uh,
Okay. Let me go on. I have. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Still no. Okay, so I have a question, ma'am. The question is that what leadership style do you primarily adopt, and how do you adapt your leadership style to different team members, personalities, and work styles?
Lovely question. I wish you had given me all these questions. I love answering questions instead of giving a session, you know. That's why I was not sure how I'm supposed to present. That's why I kept asking you, is it a PPT? Is it a talk? What is it? Anyway, I'll tell you. There are situations where you have to adopt different styles of leadership. Okay, like I said, there are some situations where you can make it democratic. I will give you one example where I have made a mistake. Now, we started with 3 schools, right? So initially, we have made all our SOPs because we are an ISO organization, everything is in place. So everyone who comes in, they get a complete understanding of how the schools have to function. But you've got 3 different principles, right? Now, everybody is a different personality. So when I say this is the way you need to eat, like breakfast is only roti, because an SOP is an SOP, right? So assembly is like this. Now, after some time, what happens is they feel, very, very claustrophobic also at times. So then I have said, okay, a little freedom given. So you get into a more democratic leadership. And you tell them, fine, this is the nuances, the outer line of the assembly, but you have to do it within this framework. Okay. Now that can be done for certain things, like maybe like an assembly. It can be done for probably how they want to do a particular program. But where I had made a mistake was when I left it completely to them without monitoring. Okay, so there what happened, I faced a little situation where the quality was falling down. The minute I started noticing that, I had to get back into a feedback session, had to give my feedback and say, okay, now this is what you were doing a little incorrect. And in some cases, it quickly got picked up. In some cases, it didn't. Then I had to become very autocratic and say, okay, fine, this is the way it has to be done. You get my point? So there's every situation, a leader has to be extremely flexible, understand the situation, understand the need and the context, and apply your leadership style accordingly. Okay. Having said that, the leadership style that I like the most and I like to practice the most in an ideal situation is servant leadership. That is something very close to my heart because I believe that leaders are only serving people. Many people think it's the chair, it's the title, and it's a lovely, comfortable AC office, but that's not what it is. You need to serve people and be there for people. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
I think I'm audible now. Am I?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ankita, for inviting me, and namaskar and a very good afternoon to all the jury members and all the students present here. My apology for joining late because I know it is not true leadership trait. So, but then I had certain functions back to back past 2 days and a lot of meetings with the chairman. So I have told my staff, Abhi aap ruko, let me have a meeting quickly for around 10 minutes and then I'll get back to you. So yeah, so Ankita, you'll have to explain me how do I go about and what I need to discuss on the podium.
Okay, so I think, ma'am, Himanshi, have introduced you. All of us know a lot about you. So you can just share your experience of leadership with us and how you find this field interesting or challenging. Yeah.
All right. So to all my dear AMID researchers, I'll say, or probably they will research. This profession of teaching came to me as a blessing of my father because after doing pretty well and being a CBSE topper in class 12, of course, I never wanted to be a teacher. When I was emphasizing that I need to go for a corporate job because I was working in Tata AIG at that time, my father had his own reservations, and then he made me sit one day and discussed and told me that okay, you'll go to Symbiosis, you'll work in MNC and everything. But what do you want? तो मैंने कहा मैं तो पापा या तो आर्मी में ऑफिसर बनना चाहती हूँ और I want to work in corporate, but not a teacher. Who becomes a teacher? And he said, क्या करोगे आर्मी में? What will you do joining defense? I said, I want to serve my country. So he said, when you are going to serve as an officer there or as a jawan there, आपकी सिर्फ एक जान आप दे सकते हो. But if you become a teacher, you will produce many jawan, many officers who are going to serve Ma Bharati. And that was a point at an age of 23, I think, 24, when I, did my B.Ed with half-hearted kind of thing because I felt इसमें कितना philosophy and how. The day I entered as a postgraduate teacher of commerce in Riverside DAV, first day, nobody stood up because I was thin, lean, chota sa, patla sa girl, and these big boys. So I had to decide that how do I make them respect the so-called education which takes place in the class. Then and now the scenario has totally changed. So, ma'am, it has come, I'll say it's not by choice or something, but I'll say it is a blessing of my Bauji, and rightly said by Sunalini ma'am that it is a service. And because it is a service, that's why with whatever pay packages we have, we work beyond that. I think leaders are, most troubled at home as compared to office, because we are questioned for long dedicated working hours. We are questioned for compromising our kids' education. We are questioned for our, compromising on health. And then they ask, what is the return? But the return is, my dear children, when my students, when you get a call on one day when your husband is questioning you, when your kids are questioning you, ki ma'am, मैं यहाँ पर ये हूँ, I am that big, I have achieved so much, and thank you so much. I'm in America. You taught me how to make a journal entry and ledger, and see now my professor is doing so in the Harvard, and that's what make you feel proud to be a teacher. And I'll say, if you talk about leadership, everybody, every teacher, every sahayak who's working in your organization is a leader in itself and has something to teach. So the roll on is, you feel that the red carpet is for you. The red carpet in the school is for the children, is for the stakeholders, and you, P for principal and P for PN, I always say. So we should know a small, defect in a washroom of any child, to how the chairman envisions and how does AVS or my previous organizations have envisioned. So I got the opportunity of being the principal, served for DAV for good 8 years. And if you have to talk to me about leadership, Ankita, I'll say that for me as an individual, when I get stagnated, like when I feel, okay, I'm a cluster head, I've done this much for the school, and now the school is healthy. I take personal interest right from the principal table to my teachers who are in the staff room. So I am somebody who is very, very vibrant amongst management, saying, so this has to be done and that has to be done, and they are my kids. And because in my school, I feel that 4,000 hearts together, are bringing life to this school, and they are the one who are actually would be representing our country, and is representing and would be taking very big decisions. So when you talk about leadership, I'll say my leadership style has changed with every school, because the needs were different. They were at a different state. So nobody can define what leadership is, but I'll say faith is a big word. And you have to have the faith in spite of leaders being falling down on certain things. The interpersonal skill, I'll repeat it, the interpersonal relationship which you develop with everybody, right from the Mali Bhaiya to the teachers, chairmen, and the management will always be there, of course, to support you. If I see myself, my own self, I've never seen a management who says you cannot do this, Mrs. Raghav. So I think in India, if you talk about management, I have been fortunate. I have worked with Aditya Birla Public School. I have worked with DAV. I have worked now I'm working in Army Public School. I feel that they all have their different framework, but kids holistically, if you talk about nationally or universally, are all same. We all think on the same page. So for me, leadership changes. It evolves every day. And I'll not say every day is a challenge. Every day is a new learning. What you get in education is the utmost satisfaction of getting connected with youth. Like I had inter-RPS event today, and these young boys came and said, ma'am, can we take a selfie with you? Because we don't see principals like this. We maintain different, distance, and I have never seen. And there was a teacher who said, "Humko 34 years mein." So we need to. The role of leadership has changed. You really need to be with everybody to get them on the same page to get the result, because ultimately the end result is our kids. The challenges are increasing amongst the children these days. The virtual world is killing them. They don't know what the truth is. They dream of something which doesn't exist fully. So we really have to churn them. Gone are the days they are all learning from influencers, YouTube, and whatnot. So we need to understand that we need to give them, we have to nurture them, and for that they should believe in you. So the most challenging part is anybody believing you these days, and especially the kids. So you have to break the barrier, because a small child comes, has his own. So leadership mein you need to be very, very flexible. When the chotu comes of class 1, you really need to be like them. When there is a child who's adolescent or is in 12th and feels that these are old fashioned principals and teachers who are hogging me all around, you need to change and be with them. So yeah, this is all about my experience. Any questions?
Ma'am, for sharing your experience with us.
Sorry, can you please?
First, we would like to thank you, thank you, Sonalini and Renu, for sharing your expertise with us and your stories. It was quite insightful. So we will be now asking questions with both of you. Anyone may answer. So Himanshi will ask you a question. You may answer that.
Okay, thank you, Akash. So my first question is, how was your experience under a leadership in your starting career?
Ma'am, would you like to answer or may I answer?
You can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Thank you
Because
so much.
I've already taken
Right. So you're trying to say initially when the first time I so-called became the leader, how was my experience that time with the management? Am I right, Himanshi? This is what you're asking? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, right. So, with me as an individual, I had worked with the IPS as my first experience. They were the chairman. And believe me, since when you work with the most intelligent brains of the country, you'll have to prove that what you talk is logic. So, turning around the school, which was basically, I'll say a six school and a state board school, turning it to CBSE, getting them becoming self-reliant was a tough job, but it was only my management who had that faith in me, and they were always yes. Of course, if you'll say were there restrictions, I'll personally say there are only restrictions in your mind. If you're able to convince, and if right now it's not a good time to work because your management feels that has certain apprehensions and you have to give time and pause. So for me it was wonderful because I had worked with my management kept changing, my SPs kept changing, and my IGs kept changing, but and I learned with each one of them how they think. So when they deal with schools, which is not their core area of working, and when we as an educationist work, of course the thought process is very, very different. They want to do everything with kids, and they want to exercise, but then what we have potentially in our hand as teachers and the other resources as the limitation. As you all know that, of course now the times are changing, but then teachers have their own challenges, whether it is family background, whether it is own learning, whether getting a link to NEP. So in India, if you talk about education, you know that it is a last chosen option. So I'll say the management was pretty good, very flexible. There was acceptability, but the challenge was the school challenge, not the management. They never questioned me on anything. Of course, on pen and paper, when we work, there are red tapeism, there are things. So you have to be consistent. That was the reason for that school I gave good 8 years. And when it turned out to be a healthy, sound school, I told my ADGP that's her time to move on because the school is settled and is in a very good state. And now the principal would be ready to take, because my DGP told me that 11 principals left because the school was not that good. So I think blessings of God is there, that when you get a very tough task and when you're able to do it, I think that self-satisfaction pays. So yes, Himanshi, management, I think my experience was good. I have evolved out of that school. I have learned maximum, and because there were maximum challenges. If you talk about the management, which is so-called is an organization or is a very formal setup, we do vary. So if you talk about challenges from management, there were no challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can we move on to the next questions if anyone has? I think you should be having questions. Anyone?
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Thank
Mahesh.
you. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your insightful ideas to us. Now, I would like to put up one question to you all. Is that in an organization, there are, ma'am, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. You can speak louder.
Little louder.
Okay. Ma'am, in an organizations, there are many teams. Ma'am, can you hear me? Okay. There are many teams which perform many different tasks. So they have their leaders. Their leaders expect to generate their leaders expect to generate many insightful inputs to the team from their members. So my question is that what is the approach? What is the approach to building and maintaining the high performing team? And these team leaders expect to input many outcomes in their working goals. So what is the approach to the building and maintaining the high performing team?
Okay. How do you actually build a high performing team? Am I right, Maheshwar? Is that what you're looking at? Okay, this will take time. Okay, this will be a journey. It also requires identifying the strength and the challenge that each team member has. Okay, the weakness or the challenge that I may have may complement with your strength. So as a leader, you should have that intuition, you should have the acumen to be able to know your team first of all, or know the different teams, because you said there are many teams also. So if you're a member who's heading many teams, then you need to know all those teams and what is their dynamics. Okay, for this, your people skill also should be extremely strong. See, as leaders, we are not about titles, we are more about people. Okay, we are more about dealing with people and having people who we love and respect mutually. So the first thing I would say is identify the strengths and the challenges of your team. I don't like to use the word weakness, or I keep saying challenge, because I like to put it across positively. Okay, once you know this, then accordingly you delegate the work. If there is a task or a project that we need to undertake, you delegate it according to the strength and the weakness of the person or of the team. Your communication should be very, very clear. What is the expectation that you have for these teams? And your feedback has to be very clear. Sometimes you may have to work on personal developmental plans, okay, where you identify where are they going wrong or where are they struggling, and you have targeted intervention. This can apply for students, it can apply to adults. You have your targeted intervention, targeted support. Identify the need, and according to that, you give the targeted intervention or support. Okay, so, and then you see how the team is performing. In between this, you may have to give some rewards and recognitions. Some people, let me tell you, this is a very, very sensitive topic which many people deliberate and discuss about. Some people get motivated by just a little lovely note. And I make it a point to give handwritten notes, because that has so much of meaning, so much of value in today's digital age. Okay, by just forwarding a message. No, a handwritten note. Some people get motivated with money. Some people get motivated with just a little incentive, just a little letter. Sometimes it's an internal promotion. So it varies, and for that, I'm sure you all would have touched upon Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You must have touched upon Herzberg's two-factor theory, so I'm not going to get into that. But it depends on the person and what is their motivator also. Like I said, each one gets motivated with different things. So as a leader, you should know what kind of motivation to give them and get that whole team going. Okay, so sometimes when the team is not going well, autocratic leadership. Sometimes when the team is doing well and they don't want you sitting on their head too much, then minimal intervention, then the laissez-faire leadership style. So different leadership styles depending on your team's dynamics, but constant interaction, clear expectation, feedback, intervention, support, and consistency. This is how I'd like to answer your question. I hope you've got clarity there.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonalini. Do we have another question?
Yeah. Yes, Akash.
Yes, Ajit.
Uh, uh, I was very excited for this webinar, ma'am, and my question is, how do you build trust and credibility as a leader?
Okay, Renu, would you like to respond to this question?
I'll. Thank you so much. So,
Thank you.
Ajit, thank you for giving me the opportunity of answering this question, and Akash, you too. When you talk about trust and credibility,
Yes.
one need to understand that you need to nurture it, and it will take time. Uh, Whenever you are delegating or talking to your team members, the first and foremost thing which I believe is the respect that has to come, right? Once, and the comfort zone. I feel sorry when I see the staff still having or believing that they have to distance themselves. And as I tell my team couple of times, that I can never be busy for you. So when you talk about trust and when you talk about credibility, it comes as a reflection of your work day in and day out, one. And gradually, slowly, the trust would be built. Now, there is a very famous, I hope the other principals would agree, that respect and suspect, that is taught to us. So even when we suspect that, okay, this हो सकता है या नहीं हो सकता, this could be done, could not be done, still we need to trust. Now there are two different things. There is something known as faith, Ajit, and there is something known as trust. It has to, you need to travel between them. And couple of times, even if you feel that there is a breach of trust, you still have to work on that breach to make that person realize that somehow there is utmost good faith policy which the principal follows. They are going to come, the employees are going to surrender, they will confess, but till the time they don't do it and there is a gap. When you talk about credentials, it's not that in my, the past principal was like this and had these kind of thought process. You also come with same thing. So when, as a principal, when we come, very often I say that, a principal has to work, has to be initially a very good, not the feedback. Half of them would come and say us their stories because they've been in the organization for a long time. Half of them would not say. So it takes you good 1 to 2 months to actually listen to everybody. How are you doing it? Are we trusting them on whatever they are saying? Are we doubting their credibility? Nothing. You need to have the canvas white. You will be painting that canvas only after sufficient experience. So trust and credibility in every association and in every relationship has to be there, and you have to go with that utmost good faith that it exists. Yes, there are many exceptional cases that does arise, and that does make us question. But then what I believe is, when you sit on the chair, you are feeling that you are able to judge and you are ruling, but then all those brains on the other side are trying to rule you with their own thought process. We need to align and understand किसको trust, कितना credibility, what is the mixture, how do we go. तो trust तो हमें सबको करना, but it builds, and the trust in you as a leader gets built up when you associate with them, when you make them believe that it's not only that particular staff, but it is also their family members you're concerned about. You are touching their heart, you are acknowledgement, as ma'am said, that those notes. So, and as soon as some competition goes, you start writing these small notes, not because you had to do it, because your heart said that this particular thing has happened. Or Nothing is perfect. You need to believe that, Ajit. So when you talk about trust and faith, it is a gradual process. It develops, and I feel sorry because when we change our profile from one school to another, I'll not say profile, I'll say job, then there is a crowd of teachers who had been used to working the way you. So I think as a leader, when you talk about trust and faith, for them it is more difficult, because with every leader they have to align and they have to build and rebuild and keep proving themselves and their acumen. So it is a gradual process. Credentials आपको सबके utmost good faith पे on करके रखने चाहिए, and then you have to demark and understand slowly with your judgment. Most of the time the teachers feel that this particular madam is prejudiced against, is having certain reservation against, वो break करना, breaking that, and believe me, everybody will start trusting you, and everybody's trust you will gain. But again, I'll say it is a gradual process, right? Thank you.
Sonali ma'am, would you like to add some points to this question?
Yes, definitely. I think ma'am has given a very clear picture. But probably another just point that I could add on is that if you know your shared values, it's very important for us to know, like I said, what is the vision we have for this team, what is the mission we have, and what are we doing. So what are those common values? This was a very big debatable question when I did my education leadership from Cambridge University. The first day they asked us this question: what are those common values that you should have in an organization? So if my value and your value doesn't correlate, you're going to just keep having friction. So if honesty is not my cup of plate, then how will we work together? There's just no compromise there. So I think having these common shared values, and which is explained to the team, that's why it's very important to keep explaining the vision and the mission of the organization or the team, to everybody. And you have to keep repeating. They'll forget. So you need to keep having these programs of team building activities, workshop sessions, just a breakout session where you have discussions. And another thing that, when ma'am was talking about that suspect and respect, I think it was a very beautiful point, because sometimes you get into a scenario where you need to address, okay, it's gone beyond the breach, right? So then what do? It's just ask the 5 whys. This is what I do. Why did you do this? Then again, you say, why did you do that? Then they'll say something. Then you say again, why? The minute you ask these 5 whys, by the time they come to the 5th why, believe me, or the 3rd why itself, they would have understood what they've done wrong. So I just use this strategy because, see, one thing we have to realize is we're dealing with adults. In my role, and I think in ma'am's role, yes, the kids are much easier, believe me. They are much more flexible. They're much more easier to handle. But when you're dealing with adults, it's not that easy. You cannot treat them as children. I may be a CEO, but then when I'm dealing with adults, I cannot, and I'm dealing with principals who've got so many years experience. So the only thing I'll say is, why do you think this happened? Why do you think that happened? And then from their mouth, it'll come out. So, always see how do you make them responsible and accountable for this breach that has happened, and reiterate these values. And slowly, like ma'am said, this trust will come. But you need to lead by example. And they'll keep watching you. See, I always say the minute I get down from my car and I enter office, it's like there is something put on me. There's a new robe that's put on me because all eyes are watching. So how do you actually be a role model? Okay. So I hope that answers Ajit's question. It's a very, very beautiful question, but something that can only develop. It's like a simple relationship of a family, a husband and wife, and I'm sure all of you have got friends. How do you develop trust with your friends? It's the same thing. It takes time. It doesn't happen so easily overnight, okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other question? Okay, so I'll ask the next question. So, ma'am, what are the most significant challenges you face as a leader today?
Most significant challenges.
Yes, ma'am. Most significant challenges that you are facing today
Okay.
as you.
Okay, I can only tell you from my context, okay? So that we have got 3 schools, right, and 3 different principals. So if every principal understands what is this clarity of where we are all heading, and if they practice the same with their teams, so explaining to their teams, so the communication channel has to be very clear, and they have to treat the teachers how we treat them. See, ma'am was talking so much about management. Yes, managements really treat us very well. But where I find the challenge is they may not treat their teachers or the admin staff in the same way. They like to be treated one way, but they don't do that to the others. And this is what I always say. That's what empathy is. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. And that's why I say servant leadership. That's why I say it's such a selfless job, because you need to always think of other people. And that is my biggest challenge. So when I sit down and when there's friction, it could be between the administration team and it could be between the principals, and I'm sitting down. I'm only problem solving. I tell you, my job is only problem solving. There's nothing great I do. Okay. And I just ask them, okay, what happened? So either it would have been the communication has gone late. Okay, we got a late information to set up this many chairs, or we got late information to do this, some kind of friction. And then I'm like, okay, if you had to run the show, what would you have done? Right? So just the only thing I think the challenge I feel right now is that people just to be accepting of each other, to be a little more tolerant of each other, and to just be kind and nice human beings. That's the biggest challenge I face today. And then, if you talk to anybody, they'll say, but today I came because at home something happened. I was bugged because the maid did not come. Something like that they'll talk. And I'm like, see, when you come to work, how do you put your personal things aside? Just because it's like, in psychology, we say the husband shouted at the wife at the child at the dog at the cat at the rat, right? You just want to palm it off. You want to show your anger on somebody else. But really, that doesn't work in a workplace, because you've come with that mood. So you're just taking out your anger on somebody. And that is the biggest challenge I face today, of just asking people to be kind, be good human beings, and treat other people the way you want to be treated. This is my biggest challenge, which I am working towards. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so Ms. Renu, ma'am, would you like to add something to this response?
Ma'am is a CEO, and what rightly she was saying, I could just connect, because this is a bigger challenge. And through ma'am, I would like to address and say that when a postgraduate teacher or a teacher, after getting the little admin experience, comes becoming a principal, we evolve, and it takes good time to be actually a real principal, because as ma'am said that empathy has to be there, and everybody knows, even I know, where we all must have made certain mistake. So when you talk about challenges, I'll say ma'am has very comprehensively, in a very short time, has covered saying communication, covered saying empathy, trying and understanding. And what ma'am said, I'll just re-emboss this saying: 70% of good planning which a principal does brings a lot of changes in fluency and efficiency in each worker. So what ma'am said, you keep talking to them, in a sense, does not mean that you non-directional talking. What ma'am is saying, that okay, if I want this is how I feel it should be done. This is the best possible manner. And what do you feel about it? Because then the teachers have their own bag of experiences, which they and believe me, it's tough for the teachers, because a principal comes, madam, wo to WhatsApp se kaam hota tha. Abhi to you are saying, I'm like if you talk about me, I'm a data-driven principal. So unless and until I get the data, or if it is a vision, it cannot be general. So beta logic to bata do. पांच कैसे हो सकता है subject in one? So what ma'am is saying is absolutely right. The challenge is all about manpower. There is no challenge with management. Management will give all the leeway, and management never interferes in principals working. If they feel that जैसे मुझे कहा जाता है बहुत जुझारू प्रिंसिपल हो, तो समटाइम you're very honest. So you tell management, मैम ये ऐसा ही है और ये ऐसा ही होगा, and this is not happening, and but then they know you. They're so experienced that they know you that okay, she is this kind of principal. So similarly, we should know as principal how is कोई है जो सिर्फ आपके ही कहने पर काम करेगा. They'll not listen to the coordinators, and so you need to develop a relationship. Sometime I have done it, even with the wife of a teacher, calling in saying, "Ma'am, आप कैसे हैं? सर तो बहुत बढ़िया काम करते हैं." Because at the end, we have to make everybody work happily, satisfactorily. Nothing is perfect. कुछ ऊंच नीच रह जाता है. But then we need to understand that if collaboration has to take place, principal has to plan, replan, change and accept what the teachers are saying or what the admin staff is saying. Have to make them big all the time, because my only protocol is कहते principal कहाँ बिठाते हैं? नहीं आप पहले बैठिए. Would you like to have a whatever? कितना भी बड़ा disaster हो गया. But because the point is, if they don't open up to you, if they don't tell you, next time that disaster will be bigger. So we need to really squeeze on our emotions and understand what is the emotion and the challenge of the other person, because life is challenging, more challenging these days. We may feel that it has become comfort. There's a lot of challenges, mental health challenges, which even teacher faces. We need to be empathetic, but again, as Renu Raghav, I've learned it over a period of time. When I was a principal initially, सब said तो हमें लगता है हम तो दुनिया बदल देंगे. So दुनिया बदलनी है, लेकिन दुनिया अगर बच्चों के लिए बदलनी है तो दुनिया टीचर्स की को सिखा के कि दुनिया बदली कैसे जाती है और उनके साथ काम करके. What I believe that if my teacher is sitting on the ground and working, I sit down. I have to break that barrier, and I always tell them that I am always a teacher at heart, and there is no difference between you and me. There is nothing great which I am doing. You are doing greater because you are changing. And I always tell them, as I said, data driven. Ma'am, 40 into आप 5 class में जाते हो, इतना बच्चा is getting influenced. You are an influencer. I tell them, you are the influencer. You are the power. So this is what we need to think upon. And ma'am is a CEO. She's handling 3 schools, and she knows what it goes to explain the principles and change. Because at the end, principals are also human beings. And
I think her network issues. So thank you, Sonalini ma'am, and thank you, Renu ma'am. Do we have another question? You may type in the chat box if you have any questions.
Can I ask a question?
Who was this?
This is me. I'm asking a question to the great leaders out here. Yeah?
Yeah, you may ask me.
Okay. How do you think you would nurture another leader?
Okay. So
how do you think
Would
you nurture another leader? Anyone can just answer it.
Would anyone like to respond to Sonalini ma'am's question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Maheshwar.
Ma'am, is my point of view, is my perspective. So, means nurturing a leader means before I nurture, I have to become a leader. Means I have to able to lead. Means I have to be able to lead. I have to be able to have to able to take responsibility risks. Means we don't have to carry all the qualities with us, but we need some responsibilities, critical thinking, rational. So with this some basic few qualities, we will able to nurture the, uh, nurture others. So surrounding us, we can nurture the surrounding us because our act will influence them, our space will influence them. So there are many ways, many perspectives, many points of view that we can nurture, we can influence them. So we don't have to possess all the qualities with us. So we have to possess few genuine qualities. Means we have to change our perspective from time to time. We have to handle a situation from time to time. So we have to be very flexible on that. We don't need to be rigid. We don't, but we have to follow some basic principle. We have to be ideal on that. We have to, if we don't follow our basic discipline, basic ideal or something that we can define ourselves, then we'll not able to nurture our we'll not able to nurture the new leaders. Means the new leaders means they are surrounding us. Means people don't have to be surrounding us, but people who are in touch with me. Because when Mahatma Gandhi became a great leader, during the freedom struggle, he tried to touch with the people, but physically or virtually, because his voice, his speech can influence millions of people in India. So there is something that we need to have that can influence to others. There are many ways to influence others, but positive influence that can imitate, that can learn from them. Means we can learn from others. That's a basic thing. Thank you. I think this is my perspective now. This is my point of view that I can share it.
Very nice. Anybody else wants to add on to that? Because why I'm telling you is that
Ma'am, I would like
who wants to speak? Who wants to add on?
add here whatever little experience I
Sonal ma'am, your voice is breaking.
have.
Sonal ma'am, your voice is breaking.
I believe one thing is, as a leader, you need to be very comfortable. Is it fine now?
Yeah, now it's better. Now it's better.
Yes, ma'am.
See, what I was trying to say is that of whatever little experience I have of being in the leadership roles, I would just like to add a few things that as a leader, one needs to be very, very comfortable in his skin. You need to be sure of your own abilities. You need to be above all those prejudices that somebody else can take in my space or somebody can do those kind of things, which are obviously there when you are into a setup. So that is one point. And probably the second point is, at times, if you really intend to nurture the leaders, you need to handhold quite a few of them for quite some time so that they get into that structure. Third is showing that extreme faith in their abilities. Even if you do not have, even then, showing an extreme faith in their abilities so that they also feel confident about whatever they are planning to do or they are working on. And what is throwing them into the pond, which I did with these students this time. Nalini ma'am, let me tell you, this is just an assignment for them, and I was zero involved in it. It was just that I was told that this has to be done, and how you're going to do is going to be your thing. So it is this is the time, this is the opportunity when I could see who is doing what kind of leadership qualities everyone has, and how then I can further take it on. So that is my idea of shaping on new leaders.
I think very beautifully done, ma'am. Compliments to you. I think this is where, many people fail to trust. In all of this, Sonal ma'am, you have trusted these kids. And I think that's the most beautiful thing. And that's the reason I asked this question. Because today we fail to trust another person. We fail to trust in their abilities. We fail to see what is there, that believe in them, that yes, with all the points that you have said, that they can move up. Because in this last 10 years, I have made teachers move up as vice principal. I have made front office get into HR. I've done all those kind of things. And I really compliment you, Sonal ma'am, for what you've done, because I think these children have put up a great show. Yeah, any more questions, please?
I think we have time for one more question. So I'll ask last question. So, are there any suggestion you would like to give to aspiring leaders?
Are there any suggestions you would give to aspiring leaders? I think
Yeah.
the same points again, Akash, which has come again and again, to be very clear about your flexibility, the way your behavior is, you yourself, like Maheshwar so beautifully said, first role model, you practice all those traits of, or those behaviors of leadership, let it sink in you. But even if you've made a mistake, you will not be perfect. Please accept that you're not perfect. It's perfectly fine to say a sorry if you've made a mistake, right? So many times I've told my team, I'm sorry, I think I should have been clearer. I should have communicated earlier. It happens. The minute you say that, what happens, that the trust just comes into the team. Instead of me saying that, you inform me at the last minute. That's not what is the way we have to talk. So first, the behaviors, the skills, the traits that you need to have. Then how do you practice it in different situations? How do you assess the situation? How do you monitor? See, this is a very, very, very important skill. You should never just let go. Like ma'am said, you handhold, but never let go, because something can really go very wrong. And that's the accountability you take on. Okay. So I think it's everything that we have just spoken about. Just keep reiterating it, use it in different contexts, and my role will be very different to your role. My role is different to Renu ma'am's role. So everybody's is very different. But how do you apply whatever you have learned from previous experience, from stories like he spoke about Gandhi, or from role models like that? And how do you apply it to this context and actually practice it? And I'll tell you, the biggest word is patience. Patience and tolerance and love for people. I think if you have that, that's why I always say a leader has to be a good human being first. If you're not a good human being, where you practice good values, I'm telling you, it's very, very difficult. It's extremely difficult, because if not today, that trait will show tomorrow. It'll come out. It'll come out very easily. And then you're going to get caught. Somewhere it'll come out. So you will find people, talking, like I do a lot of, all exit interviews are done by me. The principals don't do it. That's the time I get all the answers. It's very sad. But I have reversed many of those exit interviews. I've got them to come back to the school. Because that's the time they say, I felt bad for this, I did this, and this one didn't listen to me. The coordinator was like this, then the principal didn't reply to my mail. And it's not that they mean harm. Somewhere maybe she's missed one mail. Okay, it's fine. So I keep telling them, it's such a small thing. Why didn't you just bring it up? Right? Because you've got an escalation chart. You know which level to go to if something is not answered. Okay. So this is my final take. Just be a good human being, practice love, practice kindness, be firm, know when to put your foot down, okay? But do it all with selflessness and you will see results.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I think it's about to close the webinar. So thank you to all the batchmates for your thoughtful questions and our panelists for their insightful answers. So to summarize with, Himanshu will summarize that what we have learned so far and what we have gained. So yeah, Himanshu, over to you.
Thank you, Akash, for giving me this opportunity to summarize the event. First, I give opportunity to Sonal ma'am to add any points that she wanted to add and what are her views about this educational leadership, because she also taught us this subject in our second semester. So I want to give this opportunity to ma'am. First, tell about how you feel about this webinar, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Himanshi. About the webinar, so we would discuss later on also, because we would have a brush-up session of what everybody was doing and how it went on. So that's going to be a personal session. But let me take this opportunity to really thank Sonalini ma'am and Renu ma'am for being there and joining us and guiding my students in this crux of time also. I'm sure the kind of schedule you people have, and squeezing out time for us was great. And not just thank you, Sonalini ma'am and Renu ma'am, I would just request you, whenever you are in Delhi, you cannot go back without meeting these students of mine in person also. So please squeeze out that time. Whenever you are in Delhi, we would like to host you for some time. So, a genuine thank you from all of us here on behalf of my Vice Chancellor also, Honorable Professor Dhananjay Doshi, and everybody at Delhi Teachers University. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time.
Thank you so much.
Himanshi, please carry forward.
Ma'am, I'm audible.
Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for telling us. And you can take separate session if you want. We also want to get the feedbacks to our readers, that what are the mistakes that we did and what would be the learning for us. To summarize this session, I personally thank to, and on the behalf of my Delhi Teachers University, thank you so much Sonalini ma'am and Ms. Renu ma'am to come this session, to this online webinar and accept our request to come in this university, as it is the new university. And it's very, when it's come to university, it's also feel like that first you have to build the university that it's popular, but you take the chance to come this university which is new to us, to their students also, and to this community which we are trying to serve. To summarize this session, this webinar has truly highlighted the importance of leadership in education sector and provide with us valuable lessons and inspiration from both of you, as you work as a CEO and Ms. Renu ma'am work as a principal. So these are the two different sectors where we can see that what are the areas and styles you opt for this. And I also, what I like the most that you said, influence, that educational leader has a quality to influence other and how to guide other people. This is the best part, because it's not like कि आप easily सबको influence कर सकते हो अपने words से. Political leaders भी नहीं कर पाते. So we need to keep this capacity also in education. And also thank you so much both of you to come and attend this webinar. Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you, Sonali ma'am, to give us this opportunity where we organize this webinar. And thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ankita, for the invite. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed coordinating with you. And all the very best. Anytime, anything you need, any kind of support, do reach out.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I am in Delhi next week, but I'm coming for my daughter because she's getting some award. She's a jewelry designer. So I don't think I will have time to come and visit you, but some other time definitely.
Sure,
where are you coming to? Ma'am and Delhi, where are you coming to?
She says the place is just near the airport. where
Acha.
the session where, and I think Shilpa Shetty is the guest or something. So it's, how those hangama things happen. Just near the airport at Umrao, she's booked us, and I think the place is 5 minutes from there. So I'm just flying in Saturday evening is the function, Sunday flying back. So that's how it
So
is.
keep us in mind in case there are any changes in plan.
Definitely, definitely. We'll come and we can always connect like this online. Any support you all need, anything, please reach out. We are ready to help anytime. Okay.
And where are you based in Bangalore, ma'am?
Bangalore, I'm at, we've got 3 schools in different areas. So we've got at C.V. Raman Nagar, Indira Nagar, and we have got at Budagere. And I stay at Horumavu, which is in the middle of all this. I travel a lot. I keep traveling to the schools to my head office. And
Nice to catch up with you, ma'am.
I do a lot of trainings for parents, for students, for teachers. So my time is mainly in auditing and training and guiding people. That's it. So anytime, anything, just reach out and we'll be more than happy to learn from you too.
Sure, ma'am. It's going to be mutual for both of us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Renu. It was lovely meeting with you online.
Ma'am, same here. Thank you so much. And Ankita and Sonal man and everybody here on the panel, thank you so much for giving this opportunity to me. My apologies, kabhi laptop is getting switched off. Now my teachers are there. So kuch is happening today. But then I am in Delhi next week for a good 6 to 7 days for my FDRC training at Shankar Vihar. And I will get connected to Ankita. The only thing is WhatsApp where I quickly respond. LinkedIn, I don't get time.
Yes.
And ma'am, Sonali ma'am, it was very a refreshing thought process, and I can see that reflection of I'll say empathy, and this is how we learn. So I have learned a lot of things. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nalini ma'am and Renu ma'am, for accepting the invitation. You have been with us for for me, it was a very good opportunity because I could connect with you when you came to the webinar. So obliged. Thank you so much, ma'am.
May we leave now? Are we permitted?
Yes.
All the very best. All the very best to each one of you. Okay.
Wishes in the university will really rock and will do well in future. I'm sure.
And I'm sure we are meeting next week.
Yes, ma'am. We will definitely. I'll chip in sometime for sure.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so